slaughtering the sheep, it did not go as I had planned. It didn't go terribly. There was no prolonged suffering. No one escaped and ran out in the road and got hit by a car. Nothing crazy like that, but it didn't go peacefully like I had hoped. Part of that is due probably to unrealistic expectations, and part of it may have been a communication problem with the butcher. I had this expectation that I could peacefully lead one lamb out at a time, and while they were standing there getting ready to eat some alfalfa pellets, the butcher would just shoot them in the head and they would never know it's coming. That's not what happened. Slaughter unit truck arrived, the butcher got out and he asked me where exactly we were doing this, where he needs to park the truck, and I showed him. I walked him through my plan, and perhaps I just wasn't very clear when I had done that, but I had the bucket of alfalfa pellets, and I said that I would lure them out with the alfalfa pellets, and that I kind of leave it to him from there what he needed to do. I thought I knew what his process would be at that point, but I really didn't know. He parked the truck, and I saw him preparing his equipment, getting ready, and I asked him, "How long do you think it'll take to process the 4 lambs?" To which he replied, "About an hour and a half." I thought, well, I'd probably better go to the bathroom right now instead of waiting another hour and a half. I told him I would just run to the bathroom real quick and I'd be right back. I got up to the house and I looked back out the window and I saw the butcher dragging Blackbutt out behind the shelter. He had Blackbutt on his hind 2 legs and the butcher was grabbing Blackbutt's front leg, and Blackbutt, of course, not liking that, was struggling a little bit. I immediately thought, oh no, what is he doing? This was not the plan. I went running out. The damage had been done though, because I just wasn't ready for it. I felt there was really no reason for him to handle Blackbutt the way he did. I felt that I could have managed the situation with the alfalfa pellets. As Blackbutt was bleeding out, the butcher said to me, "You can go ahead and get the next one." I grabbed the bucket of alfalfa pellets and I went around the shelter to see the other 3 waiting, and I don't know why, but I just picked 53. I don't know, I guess I just had to get him over with. So I tried luring 53 with the alfalfa pellets, and it started to work. He came towards the gate that I had made with the alfalfa pellets, and he was putting his head down a little bit, but they were so spooked at that point. It was too late. The damage had been done. They were just so upset and scared by seeing Blackbutt being dragged out of their shelter like that by some stranger that just showed up. The butcher was coming up behind me, and when 53 saw him, that was it. He got too spooked and was just frantically kind of trying to escape. I tried to get control of 53 in the way I was trained to manage sheep and try to control them and move them, but it was failing due to their heightened level of stress at that point. So the butcher just grabbed him. White Butt and the little guy waited in the shelter while 53 and Black Butt were being completely processed out. And I came back a couple times to try and offer them some comfort, but they were so spooked. That's just what was so disappointing about this process. I had taken a lot of extra care into giving these guys an awesome experience here on the homestead, and I thought I was doing everything right with this slaughter method to make it the least impactful situation for them as well. And I still feel that this was a better situation than having them taken off to a slaughterhouse, because they would have been in this state of panic for hours and hours leading up to the slaughter in some strange place. At least here it was measured in minutes. I just hate that it was so prolonged for them, that they knew. Because the sheep were so worked up, in order for the butcher to actually make the kill, he essentially had to wrestle them on the ground and do a press contact rifle shot right to the head. I'm just really disappointed with how all that worked out. I think it could have been handled a lot better. I'm also open to the possibility that my expectations were just unrealistic, and how he did it was the way it has to be done. Putting all that aside now and just shifting towards the actual slaughtering and processing, I felt awful, but that was on me though. Having only 4 lambs made it more difficult. If we had a flock of 30 or 50 sheep, it would be this big nebulous flock. But because there were only 4, I knew them individually. I knew each of their personalities. Each had their own way of things. And they really became like pets. And I guess on some level, I recognized that, but it wasn't till I was standing there with the camera filming. It just created this sick feeling, the same as I'd imagine it would be if it were my dog lying there like that.
I missed the first part of the slaughter because I had a conference call. So when I came outside, 2 of the lambs had already been killed, and 1 was being skinned. And that part wasn't surprising because I've seen it before, but seeing the lambs just lifeless was really hard because they've been so happy and full of life for several months. And I stayed outside until the little guy who went last was killed, and that was hard because though I didn't bond with the sheep really, I didn't want to get attached to them. I really liked the little dude, and he was really sweet. And so I'm really gonna miss him. We raised them and loved them with respect, and I wanted them to die with dignity if that's possible for an animal, and we didn't want them to be stressed. We couldn't completely avoid that, but we now know what went into our food during the entire cycle, which is important. We have friends who bought some of the lambs, and knowing that our son's best friend will have lamb chops that we raised is nice, because there's a lot of really bad food out there, and there's a lot of food that's mislabeled. So if we can contribute to our community through producing really high quality food, I think that we've done we've made a significant contribution, and I'm proud of that.
Ashley asked me last night, do you still want to do this again next year? It's okay if you don't. I said, I still want to do this. I just don't want to do it the way we did it this year. doing it next year. We need to get breeding stock that's going to be around a long time. And I want to get a couple pet wethers too. I think we should have a couple that we designate. These are pets. They're not breeding. They're not for eating. These are just our buddies. And I think that would make a huge difference. There's a little bit of emptiness going on right now without them here. They've been here the entire time we've been here. Now granted, we haven't been here that long. We're just shy of 4 months at day 117. But our first full day here was day 2. And the sheep came here on day 3. So they've been here from the beginning for us. To me, they've been the highlight of this homestead and like the key fixture here. So not having them here now, it's kind of weird. So I think for next year, you know, if we have breeding stock and a couple pet wethers, when it's time for harvest, they're not just all gone. We'll still have sheep. As for little buddy, I'm really glad in hindsight that he made the decision to go to Grandma's place for the event. It was definitely harder on me than I thought. I went to pick him up, and when we were driving back home, he asked me if the man that came to slaughter the sheep had left. I said yes. Then he asked, "So the sheep are killed?" I said yes. Little buddy said, "Well, I didn't get to say goodbye." So at bedtime, I told him that he could come out in the morning early before he leaves and say goodbye to them. And I was wrapped up and setting everything up, and Grandma didn't know that we had talked about that, and she got him and they just left. So he didn't get a chance to say goodbye. But that was kind of the end of it. He didn't talk about it anymore, and he seemed otherwise fine with it. He knows they're gone. He knows what's happening to them as far as getting cuts of meat back. And he seems otherwise fine.
What is that, Daddy?
That's the hay that the sheep ate, and that's what came out of their stomach.
How did that get there?
The man who came to slaughter them, as part of the process, he took their stomachs out. And when he took the stomachs out, that's what came out of their stomach. It's all the hay that they chewed up.
Yeah. It's spoiled.
What does it look like to you?
Cud.
Cud. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. It's the cud that they swallowed back down.
If they have 5 stomachs, they're well, right?
Well, they have 4.
5 is too many.
Yes, 5 is too many. 4 is just right, isn't it?
Yes. I have 8 stomachs.
You have 8 stomachs?
Yep.
Where are they all?
In my belly. Silly goose.